this is Dr. Emma Hitt-Nichols, and this is this week's episode of the new FDA Approvals Podcast. This is the information for approvals from the week of February 19th through the 23rd, 2024. First up this week, the FDA approved Enmetazobactam, also called Exblifep, for the treatment of complicated urinary tract infections, cUTIs, including pyelonephritis, in patients aged 18 years or older. This agent, in combination with the fourth-generation cephalosporin called cefepime, is designed to combat antimicrobial resistance in gram-negative bacteria. This approval is based on the results of a randomized global phase 3 trial comparing Enmetazobactam to the standard treatment piperacillin-tazobactam in terms of clinical cure and microbial eradication. cUTIs requiring therapy affect approximately 3.6 million patients in the U.S. annually, presenting symptoms such as chills, fevers, back pain, and malaise. Enmetazobactam is expected to be available in the U.S. in upcoming months. The approval of this agent was granted to Orchid Pharma. Also this week, the FDA has granted priority review for Dupilumab, also called Dupixent, as an add-on maintenance treatment for certain adult patients with uncontrolled chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. This application is based on positive results from 2 phase 3 trials, suggesting that Dupilumab could become the only biologic therapy for COPD and the first new treatment approach for this disease in over a decade. Dupilumab is a human monoclonal antibody that inhibits IL-4 and IL-13 signaling, mechanisms involved in the inflammatory process of several conditions, including COPD. The priority review for Dupilumab was granted based on findings from the Boreas and Notice phase 3 trials, which demonstrated that Dupilumab significantly reduced the annualized rate of moderate or severe acute COPD exacerbations. The approval of Dupilumab for this indication is under review, with a target action date for the FDA decision set for June 27th, 2024. Approval of Dupilumab for COPD, if granted, will be to Regeneron Pharmaceuticals Inc. and Sanofi, expanding its use beyond its currently 5 FDA-approved indications. And here is a word from the supporter of this podcast, Nascent Medical. Are you seeking expert medical writing assistance? Look no further. Head on over to nascentmc.com. That's nascentmc.com. That's your one-stop destination for top-notch medical writing services. Our team of native English-speaking MD and PhD level writers can swiftly handle all of your needs, from assessments to manuscripts to slide decks and ad board summaries and more. We're here so that you never have to be without excellent medical writing help. That's nascentmc.com. Also last week, the FDA has withdrawn approval for Melphalan Flufenamide, also called Pepaxto, and it's previously approved in combination with dexamethasone for treating certain patients with multiple myeloma. This decision, effective immediately, comes after a confirmatory study failed to confirm the clinical benefit of Melphalan Flufenamide, and evidence showed that the drug was not proven to be safe or effective under its conditions of use. This marks the first application of amended procedures for the withdrawal of accelerated approval introduced by the Food and Drug Omnibus Report Act of 2022, also called FDORA, and that was actually made in 2023. The FDA's final decision was announced by the director of the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research and concludes the process initiated under these new regulations. Oncopeptides, the manufacturer, had been given an explanation for the proposed withdrawal and an opportunity to appeal, which they utilized without changing the outcome. Melphalan Flufenamide will also be removed from the Orange Book. Further details on this decision are available in the FDA's public docket. Also last week, the FDA approved the supplemental biologics license application for Teclistamab CQYV, also called Tecvayli, now permitting its use once every 2 weeks to treat patients with relapsed or refractory multiple myeloma. This update in dosing frequency specifically targets patients who have achieved and maintained at least a complete response for a minimum of 6 months, aiming to offer more flexibility in patients' treatment schedule. This update follows the initial approval of Teclistamab under the FDA's accelerated pathway in October 2022 as a novel treatment. Teclistamab is a bispecific T-cell engager antibody that targets the BCMA protein and CD3 receptor. The biweekly dosing approval is based on data from the phase 1/2 Majestic-1 study, which demonstrated that patients transitioning to a biweekly dosing schedule after achieving a complete response for 6 months or longer could maintain deep responses to Teclistamab. This regimen was shown to be safe, with fewer grade 3 or higher infections reported and no new safety concerns after switching to the biweekly schedule. This approval was granted to Johnson & Johnson. Also in relapsed refractory multiple myeloma, the biologics license application, BLA, of linvoseltamab, and that's another bispecific T-cell engager, it has been accepted for priority review. Specifically, linvoseltamab is for the treatment of adult patients with relapsed refractory multiple myeloma that has progressed after receiving at least 3 prior therapies. The target action date for the FDA's decision is set for August 22nd, 2024. Linvoseltamab is an investigational bispecific antibody designed to connect B-cell maturation antigen, BCMA, on multiple myeloma cells with CD3 expressing T cells, thereby enhancing T cell activation and facilitating the destruction of cancer cells. This application is supported by data from the ongoing Linker MM1 trial, a phase 1/2 study which enrolled 282 patients with relapsed refractory multiple myeloma. This study evaluated linvoseltamab through a step-up dosing regimen followed by a full dose. This approval was granted to Regeneron. All right, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Do please tell your colleagues about this podcast if it's of interest to you and you think it might be of interest to them. That would be great. And then do check out my free course on ChatGPT-4 for medical writers and editors. You can access that at learnamasstyle.com. All right, thanks so much. Have a wonderful week. Take care.